Hi, everyone. Welcome so much. Thanks for being here to listen to our peer leaders. I'm Kelsey Mora. I'm the Chief Clinical Officer for Pickles Group. This is the first time ever that we have done something like this. We're so excited to welcome you and give you a chance to kind of hear just directly from the kids themselves. Our whole organization is really focused on kids and teens, and we've often shared the perspective of our staff and of our parents, but tonight's all about hearing directly from them. Whether you're a parent and you're wondering what this might be like for your own kids, whether you're a healthcare worker, wondering how you can better support your families who have young kids, you're going to get to hear directly from them what's been helpful, what's been difficult, what they wish other people knew. And we're just so glad that you're taking the time to be with us and to hear from our Pickles kids about how they have faced their parents' cancer or continue to do so. We've got Molly, Patrick, Francesca, and Maddie on the call. I'm going to go ahead and tell us a little bit about Pickles Group before we get started. So for those of you who aren't familiar, Pickles Group is a nonprofit that provides free peer-to-peer support and resources for kids and teens impacted by their parent or guardian's cancer. And all of the programming that we do is rooted in these three pillars of support. And so the reason I want to share this is because it's essential to all of the work that we do, but also because I'm really going to guide the conversation with our four peer leaders rooted in these three topics. So we'll hear a little bit from them about honest and age-appropriate information, coping skills, and then last but not least, peer connection, how they've supported each other, how others have supported them. And so everything we do, whether it's our youth programming, our parent guidance, our clinician trainings, our discussions are all rooted in these three things. And we're excited for you to hear a little bit more about these three pillars from the perspective of the teams themselves. This is going to be a 45-minute conversation. I'll end us a few minutes early so that I can also tell you more about our Pickles Group programming so that if you're a family and you're interested in joining us, we'll tell you how you can do that. Our next deadline is actually on December 19th. So that's a little over a week away. And so it's the perfect time to get involved and to join us in our programming, to meet other kids like our peer leaders who are on the call tonight. And then if you're a healthcare worker, we'll also talk about how you can refer families who are in your care, whether you're at a hospital or a clinic. We want to make sure you walk away with that information as well. So I'll close us out with how to do that and how to stay involved in our mission. So thank you so much. I'm going to close my slides now and we'll turn it over to our peer leaders and our discussion. Just give me 1 minute to switch out the stuff here. All right, so we've got everyone spotlighted here, and I'm going to just have each of them actually just take a moment to introduce themselves and what has brought them to Pickles Group. And so I'll just call on each of you to give a quick introduction, and then we'll kick off some of our questions. So Molly, would you mind going first?
Yeah, sure. My name's Molly. I'm 16. I'm a junior in high school. I'm at Nutri High School, which is in the area. And I'm here because my dad has brain cancer and he's currently stable. His tumor isn't growing, but he's still he still actively has cancer and still tumor is still like there. And I've been a part of Pickles since 2019. So before it kind of officially became Pickles. Pickles.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. Welcome, Molly. Maddie.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I just turned 18. I'm a senior at Regina Dominican High School in Wilmette. I'm here because, well, I've been a part of Pickles since I think around 2020, 2021. And I'm here because when I was a lot younger, when I was around 6 or 7, my mom was diagnosed with blood cancer called myelodysplastic syndrome. And then more recently, when I was 13, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which is when I found out about pickles.
Thank you for sharing. Francesca.
Hi, my name is Francesca. I am 17. I also go to Nutri High School. I have been in pickles since 2019, since the start. And my mom had stage 4 lung cancer and she passed away in 2022. And my dad had stage 3 colorectal cancer and he is currently stable.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing about your parents and your family. We're glad you're here. And last but not least, Patrick.
Hi, my name is Patrick. I'm a sophomore at Northridge. I'm 15 years old, and I'm here because my dad passed away from colon cancer 2 years ago, and I've been part of Pickles for 4 years.
Awesome. Thank you. So what do we mean by peer leaders? So you can hear that all four of these individuals have been with Pickles Group for several years. And so Pickles is now a 4-year-old organization. And we're really at that point where we are ready to formalize the way that we're showing up for kids. And one of the best ways that we can do that is have kids supporting kids. And that's always been our tagline. And we're ready to really put that into practice. So this is the first official year where we've had a formal peer leadership program. So we have peer leaders in Illinois and beyond. We have folks in New York and Minnesota and Florida who integrate into our programs to help some of the younger or the newer kids. And that has just been a total game changer because it means so much to hear from other kids and teens who can relate, which is why Pickles Group was started. So that's what it means to be a peer leader. And we're so excited to hear more about that from these 4 amazing teenagers. So first, one of the things we talk about a lot at Pickles Group is something called sweet and sour. And what we mean by that is kind of the highs and lows, maybe the meaningful parts and the difficult parts of a cancer experience. And so I would love for one or two of you to share, when you think about having a parent with cancer or losing a parent to cancer, what's one thing that feels really sour and one thing that maybe feels sweet that people might not expect? Anyone want to take this first one? All right, Francesca.
I was hoping that I did that right. I feel like I haven't used Zoom reactions in a while. I think there's a lot of very obvious sours. I mean, obviously, for me, I lost a parent to cancer, and then I still had to deal with the phases of a parent with cancer. But a thing that I think is sweet is that I've gotten to meet a bunch of people who are in a very similar situation as me. And it's really nice to be able to know people that are in that similar situation because we're all able to kind of talk about things that are similar. And even if we have different like experiences with it, if we have different parents that are diagnosed different cancers, you can always kind of find a common ground. And so that is one sweet that I think comes out of having a parent with cancer.
Yeah, super helpful. I love how I think the obvious is that there are so many sours and we know and acknowledge that and want to create space for kind of the balance of meeting other people and living with the cancer. Molly.
Building off of what Francesca said, I also think like being like that comforting common ground is like also such a good way to like a like a good platform to build like a really amazing friendship on. And I've made so many friends from Pickles. Like every Pickles kid I've met is genuinely one of my friends. It's really cool to see how everyone is like friends and it's such like a tight knit community. And that's definitely like one of the highlights of this whole experience.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so you guys talked about I think something that people sometimes get wrong is that there can be these glimmers during a parent's cancer. I'm curious to hear from either Maddie or Patrick, like what's something that people often get wrong about what it's actually like to have a parent with cancer or to lose a parent with cancer? Something that people really don't get and you wish they did. Maddie.
This is honestly a really hard question, but the first thing that came to my mind was I feel like a lot of times people that don't, and I honestly, me as well, like people, anyone who knows a person who is struggling with a family member having cancer, with a parent who has cancer, don't know how to bring it up. Like they don't know how to be like, how are you doing? Or like, are you okay? Because it's very delicate and very like sort of a fragile topic. And I think honestly, like through Pickles, I've really understood that, it's a great thing to go up to someone and be like, how are you doing? Or ask them about something else. Ask them about how something else is going on in their life. Like if they play a sport, ask them how that sport is going on. And I think that a lot of people think that it can be really uncomfortable to talk about. And while I'm speaking like personally, but I know that while it is a sad thing to talk about, it's also a wonderful thing to know that people genuinely care about what you're going through and care about how you're doing. So if that I mean, that was a little bit of a round, like a
Oh, that
set.
was great. Absolutely. And that's a big thing that you all talk about is like wanting to be treated normal and play my sports and do my thing, but also wanting to know that other people are acknowledging what I'm going through and just asking how you're doing is a great way to do that. Patrick, what do you want to add?
Kind of to bounce off what Maddie said, I've noticed most people usually try to avoid buzzwords like dad or like parents or family because they think I could like feel hurt by that or I may feel some pain from hearing that. But in fact, I think that I enjoy hearing other people talk about their parents, you're talking about their experiences, like, oh, we did this as a family, we did this as a family. And I think that it's not bad to talk to someone who's lost a parent with cancer about your parents. Try to kind of normalize, act how you would if it didn't happen, because that kid wants everything to kind of return slightly back to normal. And by avoiding certain areas, you're in fact making it kind of more awkward and or worse for him to maybe have conversations or maybe open up to you.
Yeah, that avoidance feels more awkward. And I'm sure when someone talks to you about their dad, it makes you feel more comfortable talking about your own dad because even though your dad's not living, you still have a lot of stories and memories to share and contribute, which gives you that permission to do that. Thanks for sharing that. So on the kind of the last question about talking about, hard things and that pillar of honest and age appropriate communication. I'm curious, Maddie in particular, you mentioned you were pretty young when your mom was diagnosed and you learned about pickles later in her experience. When you all first started pickles and came to pickles, what did you understand or what didn't you understand? And what have you kind of learned since then that has helped you make more sense of things? Yeah, you guys really got the hand raising done. Go for it, Maddie, and then I'll come to you, Molly.
Um, I will say, yeah, like as you said, like when I was younger, and my mom was diagnosed with cancer, I mean, I had no idea what was going on, and at the time I lived in California, and I all of a sudden my mom, like within 6 months, she told me that we were moving to Chicago. We were moving to be closer to her grandparents, and then she went away for a month and came back like 20 pounds skinnier because she was going through treatment, and it was frightening to see. But then going through it again with a different type of cancer, so not the same thing, but a different type of cancer, and having pickles there, like I understood what my mom was going through. I mean, granted, I was older, but to have people to not just educate me scientifically about what my mom was going through, but also emotionally, because there were other people that understood what I was going through. And I think one of the biggest things that I really didn't understand was sort of what I touched on earlier, which is like this isn't something that I have to hide from other people. It's a sensitive topic, but it's one that almost actually I'm lucky to say that everyone in my life is supportive enough and willing to hear me talk about what I have what I've struggled with in the past.
Yeah. I imagine you learn to pick people too that are supportive to be around, which is sometimes a lesson that can come from these hard moments. And thanks for highlighting all the changes, right? We talk a lot at Pickles Group about some of the grief and loss that comes with the cancer, regardless of how a parent, if a parent survives or dies from their cancer and all those changes, right? Like moving states, my mom looking different, being in the hospital for a month. That's a lot of change and a lot of loss that you face quickly. Molly.
Sorry, I wasn't letting me unmute. But I would say the thing that I've kind of learned the most, or like didn't know at first was at first I really didn't know what was going on, like Maddie said. I'm the oldest child, so when my dad was diagnosed, he had a seizure and then was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I didn't see him, and then had surgery, and then I saw him before surgery. He had surgery, which was a really like high stakes surgery, and then after that, he went into like rehabilitation for 3 weeks. And I didn't see him. So I didn't see him for like 6 weeks. And then my mom, I barely saw her too. So I was with my grandparents. and they didn't know how to explain that my dad was like had brain cancer and was getting brain surgery. Luckily I knew what a seizure was, so I kind of understood that part. So Pickles, like, not only this was Pickles was a year after my dad had been diagnosed. So I kind of learned my I knew my dad had a tumor, but I didn't know it was connected to cancer. So I thought that he had a tumor and he was getting it removed, but I didn't know what happened after that. So Pickles really like bridges the gap for that, which I remember specifically. I was 9 years old. Um, and I'd also say it really has helped me like shift my perspective like on my life. It's taught me to be super, super grateful for like the things I do have and appreciating like everything that I do have and everything that like makes me happy and like kind of really tuning in to like what I can do to make myself and my life like be the best that I can be. So like for example, I try to like find something great that I'm grateful for every day, and my family and I try to do like what we're grateful for every day, and like say like, oh, I'm really grateful for this happened today. And then this is really kind of like Pickles kind of really gave my family like the idea that like you should be grateful, we can be grateful even though there's so much stuff to like hate in our life. Like there's so much to be grateful for, so much more that like can help you live a better life.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a gratitude circle after all of our groups, and that was really inspired by the initial Pickles group around like, yeah, it's sometimes hard to feel grateful when things are so difficult, and yet there's still these like little things to feel grateful for. You actually jumped very nicely to our next section and question around coping skills, right? And just really being able to navigate the hard with more confidence. So Molly, you just talked about one way that this experience has changed you or maybe helped you understand your own strength that you didn't know existed until it had to. I'm curious if anyone else has something they'd like to share about how their experiences maybe changed them or help them understand their own strength. Francesca.
So for me, I was in fourth grade when my mom got diagnosed. So kind of backtracking a little bit, but I didn't know what cancer was at all. And I just thought that it was something that happened when like your hair fall out and that was it. And I didn't really get what it meant or anything. And so Pickles definitely helped me understand, like, even in hardest moments, like what specific types of medications did and things like that. And I think that now as a peer leader, I get to kind of help kids who might be going through a similar thing. Like if their parent is going through chemo, I'm able to explain kind of what that means, kind of what it might look like, and that there's a bunch of different outcomes per parent. But I think that there's a lot of common like words that you can say and use for the younger kids. And I think in my own strengths, I've become like a much more talkative person about this type of stuff. Definitely when my mom first got diagnosed, it was kind of hard for me to be like, oh, my mom has this really deadly disease. And then when she passed away, it became even harder. And I kind of shut down. And it was really hard for me to stay on top of things, especially in like my schoolwork and sports and things like that. But I think now I'm able to stand here and talk about this type of thing. And to me, it shows just a lot of personal growth in being able to say that, yes, this really hard thing happened to me, but now I can stand here and know that I can talk about it and that I can give the knowledge that I now have to younger kids. Since I've been through the same Pickles curriculum that they're going through, I know the coping skills that work for me. And so I can give the recommendations that like worked for me or other things that I know worked for other people to the younger kids in hopes that I can help somebody who was my age when my mom got diagnosed and that I didn't have that same kind of support that I wish that I would have had.
Amazing. Yeah. You talk about coping skills, and so in the really difficult moments and having to navigate those, it's not all easy, right? And Patrick, I see your hand. I want to know like what have you all discovered helps you when things feel really overwhelming? You all got to help create our one of our tools in our curriculum that it's a list of coping skills for kids that they can use in during a group if they feel big emotions or big feelings during the group. You all got to create that to help other kids and they can add to it. So yeah, Patrick, if you wanted to share on the last question, I'm happy to hear that. And then certainly anyone who wants to add what helps them when they feel overwhelmed.
So one thing that I would do whenever I felt like stressed or overwhelmed is I would usually try to keep myself busy, whether it's like working out, cleaning, doing homework, just trying to find something to kind of keep my mind off it. But also another thing that helped me, and I don't think really is used by too many people, is be as open with your kids as possible. Like as it's progressing, tell them everything because the worst thing as a child is not knowing when it's going to happen. I'm lucky I got time with him, and I'm lucky I was told every step of the way. So when the day did come, I was prepared and in a better state than I would have been if I was completely taken by surprise and had no idea this was going on. I think that helped me kind of slowly kind of prepare myself for the inevitable. And I think that kind of it helped me cope because it was like, okay, he's at this stage. He's at this, none of it was a surprise. It was all expected. And I think kind of calmed me down because when the day did come and it was over, I got all the time I wanted with him. Because I knew how long, what stage he was at, I got to do stuff with him. I got to talk to him. So I think just opening up, telling them what's going on, what stages, just helps calm the kid down, makes the kid feel more comfortable and overall better.
Thank you for saying that, Patrick. I mean, as like the professional, I'm always telling parents, right, to be honest with their kids, and that's something we really believe at Pickles Group. But to hear your perspective of what that helped you with, right, to know what to expect, and certainly when we're talking about dying, that means we can talk about living, and you got to think about how to live with your dad while he was living, right, and do things together, and that is really special. So thank you for sharing that from your perspective. That it made you feel more calm. Anyone else want to share what they've discovered helps them when things feel really overwhelming? We know there's not one way to cope, so I'm sure you all have your own and different ways. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
Sorry. Um, Honestly, sort of adding on to what Patrick said about wanting to know what's going on. I mean, I'm the type of person that um particularly with what was going on with my mom, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know everything about everything. But I mean, as like a lot of us have, like when we have a cough or something and Google it, the first thing that pops up is that we have some, awful like illness, like we're gonna die. And so every time I tried to Google what was going on with my mom, it just the first thing that popped up was the worst case scenario, and that was like terrifying. But I remember one time my mom, I couldn't go in with her, but she brought me to one of her chemo appointments, and one of the nurses sort of, and I was older, so it wasn't like a watered down sugar coated sort of thing. The nurse like told me everything that was going on, and from my mom's daughter perspective, it was very comforting to know that there were all these people. There was like probably 5 people with her at a time at least, making sure that she was okay, and that was so comforting to know. But also as like uh I don't know, like a learner, a student, it was very interesting to hear about. And I think it assured me so much to know what was going on with my mom, because number one, you know, I knew that there was no mystery. There was nothing that, like Patrick said, was going to take me by surprise if I knew what she was going through, and to help me formulate my, or I guess form words about my emotions. And like if I was having a hard time with something, I could be like, I'm really scared that this particular medical procedure is going to go wrong for my mom. I'm really scared that this isn't going to go the way that I want it to, and it just made everything feel a lot clearer and a lot less like daunting, sort of, and confusing.
Sorry, we might have had a glitch there, but we heard what you're saying. And what I'm hearing is like too that the nurse, right, like at the actual hospital or at the actual doctor's appointment. And I know we have a lot of healthcare workers listening, and so that was really helpful for you to be kind of pulled into the conversation and learn so that you could then start to process your own thoughts and feelings. Thanks, Maddie. Molly.
Like both Patrick and Maddie said, like knowing everything and being able to like process it all, so that when new stuff comes in, I'm able to like process it chunk by chunk has really been helpful for me. Like I don't really want to be withheld any information just so that I know like what is gonna happen, or what could happen. And like, I want to know what the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, and the most probable case scenario. Like, I want to know kind of everything just so that I can like take a step back and process it by myself. And then really like what helps me the most is just like being with my friends. Like my friends are just like my comfort people, and I love being around my family in this type of situation too. But sometimes it's just like being able to step away from an environment where like cancer is the main focus. Like when if my dad has a new scan or this, like being able to like kind of step away from that and like be surrounded by like the people I love is just like has been really comforting for me. And I know like especially like, oh, can we go get ice cream? Like, oh, I just got some news and I just want to like relax, or I want to do something fun to take my mind off it. And then for me, especially when I was younger, it was really hard for me to be emotionally vulnerable with my family members, especially my dad. Like it was hard for me, and I've kind of always been this way, but especially when my dad got diagnosed, like be able to express what I was emotionally processing about him to his face, because like because he was also going through it, and the fact that he was also going through it, but it was himself, made me feel like my feelings were invalidated. And then in a way, like they were less than his feelings, which it's I don't know, weird. I know, but I it took me a long time to be able to open up to him. So like my I kind of learned to cope by myself and kind of distract myself and like kind of step away for a second and then like regroup.
Thanks, Molly. Yeah, the way your relationship changed, right? Even with your dad when he was going through it at the same time. This is a different type of question, but is there anything that adults think is helpful that actually isn't? Any advice you'd give to parents on the call? It sounds like some of you already did, right? Tell your kids what's going on, but anything else that your parents maybe did that you wish they would have understood? Francesca.
This to me is like a very specific like context type of thing, but I really sometimes there's times where I'm just really upset like about my mom's cancer or my dad's cancer and things like that, or I just want to like talk to my dad about it, but I'm not necessarily looking for advice. It's more of just like I just want to say like this sucks and I just want to tell somebody that it sucks, but I'm not necessarily looking for like my dad to be like, "Well, have you tried doing this? Like, do you want to do this? Like, will this make you feel better?" Like sometimes I'm really just looking for a chance to be able to say like I'm feeling really upset right now, like I'm having a bad day, like I kind of just want to sit here and like talk about anything else, but I'm not always looking for like a answer to my problem. I just kind of want to sit and talk about it or just say this sucks and have somebody know that I'm feeling that way and then not bring it up again. Like there's a lot of times where if I'm having like if it's my mom's like cancer anniversary or something like that, you have tons of people that are checking in on you, asking if you're doing okay, whatever, and all of that is super sweet and I love all of that. But then there's other times where I just want to sit and just say this really sucks, but I kind of want to do something else. I don't want to have to either sit and talk about it or I don't want to have to find something else to distract me. I just want to tell somebody that it sucks. So I think not always giving your kid like a solution if they're not always looking for one, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. Not trying to fix it, just kind of listen and be there. Yeah. And you do reserve the right to like sometimes want to talk about it and sometimes not. And so it sounds like you've had to work hard at being able to tell people when it's the time to listen and when it's the time to just hang out. Molly.
What Francesca just said reminded me of this analogy that like really resonated with me. I saw it on a podcast. Um, but it's like this guy was talking about like his grief and like I don't even know what the context was, but he was like, when I was really depressed, what didn't help was the people trying to dig me out of the hole I was in, and it was the people who tried to come in and sit with me. So like come and sit in the hole with me for a while, which like really resonated with me and made me feel like so seen. I feel like for me personally, sometimes I just want like Francesca said, my feelings to be validated, and like I don't want a solution, and I don't want people to just tell me like it's gonna be okay. And sometimes I do need that, but sometimes I just want people to be like, yeah, it does really suck. and like, yeah, what you're going through is really hard, and like just kind of just sit with me and like in my like sit by me like while I'm processing and like feeling the emotions like really helps, and not necessarily like Francesca said, giving a solution or advice or like telling you it's going to be okay. I think that sometimes that like really is the solution, or that like is kind of needed, but sometimes it's just like the people who help you the most, especially like for me, is like the people who would just kind of be like, yeah, this is so hard, and like come and not like be sad with me, but like in a way, like be sad with me and not try to cheer me up, but just like, or tell me it's okay.
Yeah, I heard a lot about trust, connection, just presence, listening, all those things that you felt and felt really seen and heard in those moments. Let's talk about connection and like peer support. So I know that you four and all of the other peer leaders have gotten to really be through a lot of this together and develop friendships. And what's it like to be around other kids who truly understand what you're going through, even if your situations are different? Like that is the whole point of building Pickles Group, is being with others who get it. So try to tell us what that's like, Patrick.
I'm gonna be completely honest, it's very comforting. It's amazing to kind of know that I get to be around people who kind of understand what I've been through, whether they've had it happen 2 years ago or going through it, because especially like the older ones, which is what I hope to try and do as a peer leader, is it kind of I've had amazing older peer leaders kind of be there for me in my time of need. They were there, they're like, I've been through this, here's what I did. Just that comfort, just the ability to know that all these people know exactly what I've been through and they all can give their input. They could be like, this is what helped me. And when they say like, I'm sorry, or they offer advice, you generally feel it because these are people who've done experience the same thing. They know exactly what you're feeling. So just that comfort, just the older person helping the younger person it really helped me out in my time of need.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I think it was Molly one time you said something like, I want to be able to talk about it when I want to and not when I don't want to. And it's like it seems like the friends at Pickles Group just kind of know and get that. You don't have to really explain it. Maddie.
Um, yeah, I agree so much with what Patrick said. And I mean, I know that this is like basically like what Pickles, like anyone who's heard of Pickles, like has been told and like would assume that Pickles is like a place where like both, it's like both fun and support. But I don't think like anyone who hasn't been a part of it truly understands like how powerful and like impactful that sort of balance is. Because not only is it like 50% like support and like emotional sort of talking about stuff and 50% like fun, it's like 100% both, if that makes any sense. Like it's like I mean, I particularly work with like the younger kids, and I know that like in our pickle jars on our zooms, like to have like we have so many kids, so many personalities. I mean, they're so much fun. um, but we have had to, deal with the muting and unmuting, but it's like they're always having fun, always making new friends, like always talking to each other. But it's always like about something. Like it's always about like a curiosity about like, oh, my mom is having this. Oh my God, my mom's having that too. Oh my gosh, my dad is having that. And they're connecting over just certain things. And it is it is like simultaneously like super super fun and super helpful, and like to have both of those things at the same time is like such a special thing, because it's not always switching back and forth from like, oh, like party, yay, we're gonna have so much fun, and then like, oh, like let's sit down and like talk about our hard feelings. It's like, let's do a super fun activity that pertains to our to what we're not understanding, which is like, just I can't even stress how special to have that is. Like it's it's so, I think everyone, even if you don't struggle with like a parent with cancer, should have the opportunity to be a part of something like this, because it is helpful on so many levels.
I love that. 100% both. And like you can do it at the same time, right? Um, some of you have lost a parent, and some of you have parents maybe in active or kind of ongoing treatment, yet you're all really close friends. And I think that's sometimes something that adults worry about, what that experience might be like. So, how have you all supported each other, even when maybe your experiences are different? Yeah, Francesca. Hold on, I think you're still muted.
I was, and it gave me a big notification that was like, you are muted. Um,
Didn't want us to miss anything you had to say.
I know. My best example is me and Molly. I mean, I have known Molly since 2019, and like I said, like we have very different stories. Like her dad was diagnosed, my mom was, and then my mom passed away. But I think that there's still so many similarities since I did have a parent with cancer. And so I know like times when she's feeling upset about something, like I know what that feeling feels like and I can still resonate with that. But then I still feel totally comfortable saying, like, oh, I'm really upset because of my mom and like I miss her a lot. And it doesn't feel like there's any disconnect, even though she hasn't experienced that, because her and I've gotten to know each other so well over time that it's kind of like she just gets me and she gets what I need in the moment and she knows she can kind of read how I'm feeling about certain things and like if I want to talk about it or if I just want to say, oh, I'm really upset about this, but like let's go do something fun instead so we don't have to think about it. And I think that although we have two very different stories, like cancer is still something that connects us. And like I said before, you can always find similarities within everyone's stories. And just the fact that there is that commonality, like it just makes it so much easier to like talk about things, even if I don't necessarily get what she's talking about and she doesn't get what I'm talking about. It's just we're still binded through like a common thing.
I love that. I'm always so I don't know if surprise is the right word, but when kids experience loss in our programs and Pickles is one of like the first places they want to come, it's really amazing to see that like they feel so safe coming and being with everybody after a loss. Molly.
I don't know what Francesca said. Like, I totally agree, and like, I think that there's Pickles like kind of creates like even with different experiences, just like a go-to person and a go-to like group of people to be able to talk about this with. Because I feel like being a teenager and being like even in especially in middle school and elementary school, it's really hard to like go to your friends and be like, I'm struggling. Like, can you please help me or can I please talk about this? And like having Pickles be a designated group of people where you can definitely 100% go to these people to talk about this has been like the most amazing thing. And also like the most and the other like amazing addition is that all these people are like some of my like really close friends, and I've gotten to know like all different types of amazing people that I would like totally go to for this type of thing. And like I think even with different experiences, like being able to have that go-to person or people, group of people is just like so amazing.
Awesome. So we still have plenty of time, but we are nearing a little bit of the end, and I want to lean into this like peer leadership piece. You all, our theme towards the end of the year has been like next gen kids leading. Like you are really leading the organization, your voices, your vision, your heart, your minds. And I there are a lot of people on the call. There are probably parents who are wondering how to best support their kids. There are probably parents of kids who are scared to join something like Pickles Group. And there are healthcare workers who want to be better equipped to support their patients who are parents. Whether you want it, whether you're talking to another kid or you're talking to a parent or you're talking to a healthcare worker, I'll let you guys pick. But what would you want people to hear? What's one thing that's been really helpful, made you feel supported? What would you want a younger kid to know? What would it be? And we can take a moment to kind of gather your thoughts because I'm sure you all have a lot of wisdom to share. But if you could pick one thing and who it would be to, what would you want to say? Patrick.
My advice I would give to like parents is let's go to Pickles, find a support group like Pickles because the effect of having kids and like people your age or older who know what you've been through, who've experienced the exact same thing, and can offer wisdom to them, it's beyond the simple impact. Like it has changed my life. I've been with this group 4 years. And when I arrived in sixth grade, as like online, just throughout these years, I've managed to meet with these people, grow with these people, and some of them I've become really good friends with, and some of them I talk to fairly frequently. So it's the effect of having a support group like this, like Pickles, is astronomical.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Maddie.
Um, I think that one of the advice that I'd give, honestly, anyone that is looking to be a part of Pickles is I feel like I often hear the phrase like you get out what you put in. I don't think that that's true at Pickles because I don't think that there's a limit to how much you can receive or how much you can get out of this program. Because that I know people that I've worked with, people that I've been with, at Pickles who are some of the most outgoing people I've ever met. And then I've also met people that are much more reserved and aren't too comfortable with talking about it, but there is no limit, there is no standard, there is absolutely no expectations when it comes to opening up about your emotions. You could open up on day 1, you could open up on day 100 and there would still be the same like passionate welcoming, loving sort of reaction to anything that you want to talk about. Um, and I would say that like even if you don't have a pickles meeting for like 3 more weeks. Like I know personally, for me and for like anyone else, if you have their phone number or email them. Say, hey, I'm having a hard time today. Like, do you have any advice? Like, I have these questions. I have this, and there are so many peer leaders, so many facilitators that I'm sure, I am certain that there is at least one, if not like probably 10, that would email you back within like 10 minutes and be willing to either have a Zoom call with you or answer any questions that you have. And so I just want any child, any parent to know that there is absolutely no expectations when it comes to joining Pickles, that Pickles is here to support participants. It's not here to be like a specific schedule. It's at its core, it is a place for people to come together and support each other in the ways that they need.
I feel like you could do like a mic drop, Maddie. That was very impactful. Francesca.
I really want to just emphasize like what Maddie's saying. Like, I think that you don't have to come to Pickles at all and like want to talk about it. You're totally able to just go and listen, and you will get still so much out of it. And I think that for kids that might be nervous to come, like if you're doing a Zoom call, you don't have to have your camera on, you don't have to turn your mic on, like there's no participation grade. You're totally able to just sit and listen. And if you don't get anything out of it, I say you come back another week because we do a different activity every single time and they're always something new and fun. And as well for parents, like you can definitely, if you have a younger kid who's nervous, you can totally sit with them for the first like Zoom or so and just see if that helps them get acclimated, because I know that sometimes it can be kind of scary. But I think it's been just so great to watch like the younger kids kind of figure out that they're all there for the same reasons. Like I work in a like pickle jars of younger kids, and at one of our last calls, like they kind of were all connecting the dots that like they all had a parent that had passed away. And I just thought that it was so beautiful that everyone was like, oh, my mom passed away of this, oh, my dad passed away of that same cancer, and everyone was kind of connecting on that level while we're doing like a fun scavenger activity, and like we're going and finding stuffed animals that comfort us and things like that. And so I just think that there's so many different ways that you can get things out of Pickles, and you don't necessarily have to be participating 100% of the time, and you can still just have as much fun as everyone else.
Awesome. Thanks, Francesca. Um, I think I got to everyone, right? On that? Yeah. Okay. We are at time. I just wanted to, I'm going to share one more slide, but I also just wanted to address the question in the chat. There's a question about just some of the differences between maybe some gender differences between how kids and teenagers express their emotions. I know that Patrick is the only male identifying panelist today, but we do have a lot of a lot of boys and young men who are peer leaders as well as in our programs. And I know some of the other panelists have brothers. I don't know if there's anything you all wanted to add about just kind of, the space for, you kind of just did that, like, there's not one way to show up, but anything else you'd want to add on that question, Patrick?
I agree with the comment that boys aren't more likely to express their emotions, especially in like a first or like a second meeting. But one thing as a boy, and I have younger brothers, and have I have friends with like some of the people in this panel who have younger siblings who are boys. Usually the boys bond over like games, or just like talk and activities. And as it progresses, they build their tight friendships. And then through those friendships, every now and then, eventually they might drop a little, like I'm not feeling good right now. It's the anniversary and my mom's passing, or something like that. And then everyone's there to comfort them. I agree, it's not the same. I can't speak for a girl, but I don't believe it's the same as a girl. Boys are usually a lot more prone to keeping the emotions inside, which is why I do think that a support group like Pickles is amazing, because the boys get to bond over games, over fun, over other activities. And then by building these friendships, they find people who they are comfortable and to confide their secrets or their emotions within. Like I've told people, I've been like, hey, I'm not feeling too good right now. This has happened. And other boys will be like, oh yeah, I'm here for you. And that means a lot, especially coming from someone who I may have only met a couple months ago, but I've bonded with throughout those months.
That's a great point, Patrick. Yeah, and that's a big part of our approach at Pickles is really building relationships first and getting to know each other first. And sometimes the whole conversation is about school or sports, and sometimes it is more about the heavy stuff. So that's really a helpful perspective. I'm gonna just share this last slide here. So I just want to make sure anyone who's on the call that is curious about like what are our programs that we offer. We have two main programs. We have Connect Over Cancer, which is a 5-week program that is an activity-based peer support model. All of our groups are closed, which means it's the same group of kids, the same peer leaders, the same facilitators, time after time to build those deeper relationships. And then our other program is called Pickles Jars, which is an ongoing monthly meeting. And so many kids do Connect Over Cancer and then move into Jars. Some kids only do Jars, some kids do both. And Jars is also for kids who have lost a parent to cancer. So we do have specific groups for kids who have experienced loss. So those are our two programs, and the deadline closes on December 19th. So that is coming up, and we'd love to have your families or the families that you work with join us for the winter. So you can do so by emailing us at connect@picklesgroup.org, visiting our website, picklesgroup.org, following us on social media. Families can enroll directly. If you're a healthcare worker, you can refer a family and we'll follow up. Any family that requests a support kit, we do our best to follow up with and reach out to. And so we really want to help make the process as smooth for families as possible to enroll. We know you have a lot going on, and we want to help get your kids enrolled if that's what you're hoping for. So there's a lot of ways to get involved, and now is the perfect time to experience what our peer leaders have experienced, but maybe even meet them. Your kids might be in their groups at some point. So thank you. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Francesca. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you to everyone who joined to listen, whether you're joining us live or hearing the recording. We are so grateful for your time and for listening and hearing from our amazing peer leaders. And all of the links are in the chat from our program director, Cam. So you can check those out, and we'll send a follow-up email as well. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.